The Velrath Dominion had conquered 217 worlds. Their empire stretched across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. They had crushed species that breathed fire. They had defeated creatures made of living metal. They had brought entire civilizations to their knees with nothing more than the sight of their war fleet. High Commander Sirak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Silence, and watched the blue planet grow larger on the viewing screen. Earth. Such a small world. Such a young species, this would be easy. "Show me the reports again," he said to his intelligence officer. The officer, a thin Velrath named Torek, pulled up the data they had collected over 30 years of observation. Images of human cities appeared on the screen. Images of human weapons. Images of human wars. "They fight each other constantly," Torek explained. "They divide themselves by the color of their skin, by invisible lines on their maps, by which invisible gods they pray to. They have nuclear weapons, but they use them on their own kind. They poison their own air and water. They are, by every measure, a primitive and self-destructive species," Sirak nodded slowly. He had seen this pattern before. Young species often destroyed themselves before they could reach the stars. The Velrath were simply speeding up the process. "Their weapons?" he asked. "Projectile-based mostly. Chemical explosives. Some energy weapons in early development, but nothing that can touch our shields. Their fastest ships cannot even leave their own solar system. They have no planetary defense grid, no orbital stations with weapons. They are completely unprepared." "How long until complete subjugation?" Torek checked his calculations. 6 rotations, High Commander. Perhaps 5 if they surrender quickly. Sirak allowed himself a small smile. 6 rotations. He had spent longer waiting for his morning meal. This conquest would add another world to the Dominion's collection, another species to serve as workers and soldiers. The Council would be pleased. "Begin the approach," he ordered, "all 400 ships in standard formation. Let them see what comes for them." The fleet moved as one. Emerging from the dark side of Earth's moon like a swarm of metal insects, they blocked out the stars. They filled the sky above every major city on the planet. On Earth below, billions of humans looked up and saw death hanging above them. Air raid sirens began to wail in every language. News channels switched to emergency broadcasts. People ran through the streets screaming, crying, praying. Sirak watched it all on his screens and felt nothing but satisfaction. This was always his favorite part. The moment when a species realized how small they truly were. "Open a channel," he commanded. "All frequencies." The communication officer nodded and activated the broadcast system. Sirak's voice would now reach every radio, every television, every phone on the planet below. "People of Earth," he began, using the standard subjugation speech that had worked on so many worlds before. "I am High Commander Sirak of the Velrath Dominion. Your world now belongs to us. Your weapons cannot harm us. Your armies cannot stop us. You have 1 hour to surrender your governments and your military forces. If you comply, many of you will be allowed to live. If you resist, we will burn your cities to ash and take what we want anyway. The choice is yours, He cut the transmission and leaned back in his command chair. Now came the waiting. On other worlds, the surrender offers usually arrived within minutes. Leaders begged for mercy. Generals offered their own people as slaves in exchange for their own lives. It was always the same. But the minutes passed and no surrender came. Sirak frowned. "Are our communications working?" "Yes, High Commander. They received the message. All of their broadcast channels have gone silent." Silent snorts. "Yes." Every station on the planet stopped transmitting at the same moment, 90 seconds ago. That was strange. Sirak had never seen a species respond to invasion with silence. Usually, there was panic, chaos, conflicting messages from different governments. But this was something else. This was coordination. Then a single transmission cut through the silence. It came from somewhere in the mountain range the humans called the Rockies. The voice was calm, steady, and spoke in perfect Velrath. "You have made a mistake. Sirach laughed. He could not help it. The absurdity of a primitive species threatening the most powerful military force in the galaxy was too much. They learned our language, Torek said quietly. From our scout ship transmissions, they have been listening to us for years. It does not matter what language they speak, Sirach replied. They will learn to speak it on their knees. Deploy the first wave. Standard ground assault. Take the major cities. Across the fleet, drop ships began to launch. Thousands of them carrying millions of Velrath soldiers. They fell toward Earth like burning rain, aimed at New York, Beijing, Moscow, London, Tokyo, and 100 other cities. Sirach watched them descend and felt completely confident. He had done this many times. He knew exactly how it would go. The humans would fight at first, as all species did. They would realize they could not win. They would break. They would surrender, and then the Velrath would own another world. He did not know that in bunkers deep beneath the earth, human generals were not preparing to surrender. They were preparing something else entirely. He did not know that human scientists had spent 30 years studying the Velrath scout ships, learning their technology, finding their weaknesses. He did not know that human leaders had set aside their differences the moment the fleet appeared. Old enemies shook hands. Ancient grudges were forgotten. For the first time in human history, every nation on Earth agreed on exactly one thing. They would not kneel. Sirach stared at the blue planet below and saw a prize waiting to be claimed. He did not see the trap that was about to close around him. He did not understand what humanity really was, but he would learn. They all would. The first reports from the ground confused the Velrath commanders. Ground Commander Veth stood in his mobile command center outside what had been New York City and read the messages 3 times before he believed them. "What do you mean they are advancing?" he demanded. "They are pushing forward, Commander," his lieutenant replied. "Our eastern units have taken heavy casualties. The humans are not retreating." Veth shook his head. This made no sense. The Velrath had superior weapons, superior armor, superior numbers. Any logical species would fall back, regroup, and eventually surrender. But the humans were attacking. He pulled up the battle footage on his screen and watched in disbelief. Human soldiers charged across open ground toward Velrath positions. Many of them fell. Most of them fell, but the ones who survived kept coming. They did not slow down. They did not hesitate. They ran toward certain death with their teeth bared and their eyes burning with something Veth had never seen before. One human pilot flew his damaged aircraft directly into a Velrath walker. The explosion killed the pilot instantly, but it also destroyed the walker and the 50 soldiers inside it. Another human, a young male with blood running down his face, strapped explosives to his chest and ran into a Velrath battalion. He was laughing as he pressed the trigger. Laughing? Veth felt something cold move through his chest. He had fought many species across many worlds. He had seen bravery and he had seen fear. But he had never seen anything like this. These humans were not just willing to die. They seemed almost eager for it, as long as they could take Velrath with them. "Commander," another officer rushed into the tent. "We have a problem in the civilian zones." "What kind of problem?" "The civilians are fighting." Veth stared at him. "Civilians do not fight. Civilians flee or surrender." "Not these civilians." The officer showed him footage from a residential area. An old human female, her hair white with age, fired a primitive projectile weapon from an upper window. She killed 2 Velrath soldiers before they located her and destroyed the building. In another clip, human children led a Velrath patrol into a narrow street, then disappeared through holes in the walls, while hidden humans collapsed the buildings on top of the soldiers. A farmer in the European region called Ukraine had destroyed an entire landing craft. He had mixed chemicals from his farm with stolen fuel, created a massive explosion, and killed everyone aboard. The farmer died in the blast, but witnesses said he was smiling. Veth contacted the other ground commanders. The reports were the same everywhere. In Beijing, elderly humans blocked the streets with their bodies, while younger ones moved weapons through underground tunnels. In Moscow, factory workers converted their machines to produce ammunition and worked through the night while bombs fell around them. In Tokyo, office workers built traps and ambushes using nothing but furniture and kitchen knives. The Velrath were winning the battles, technically. They had better technology. They had more soldiers. They controlled more territory with each passing hour, but they were paying a price they had never paid before. For every city they captured, they lost thousands of soldiers. For every human they killed, 10 more seemed to appear, and the humans were learning. On the third day, a Velrath soldier was killed by a weapon that burned through his armor like paper. The weapon had been assembled from pieces of crashed Velrath equipment, rebuilt by human hands in a basement workshop. On the fifth day, humans found a way to jam Velrath communications in 3 different regions. On the 7th day, a human sniper killed a Velrath commander from 2 kilometers away, using a modified rifle that should not have been able to fire that far. Veth requested a meeting with High Commander Sirac. "The initial estimates were wrong," he reported. "These humans adapt faster than any species we have ever encountered. Every tactic we use against them, they find a counter within days. Every weapon we deploy, they find a weakness within a week." Sirac frowned at the reports. "They are primitives. How is this possible?" "I do not know, High Commander, but I am beginning to believe we misunderstood something fundamental about them." "Explain." Veth chose his words carefully. "We observed them fighting each other for decades. We thought this was a sign of weakness. A sign of a species that could not unify, could not cooperate, could not pose a threat." He paused. "I think we were wrong. I think their constant fighting did not make them weak. I think it made them strong." Sirac said nothing, so Veth continued. "Every generation of humans has known war. Their entire history is written in blood. They have fought over land, over resources, over ideas. They have invented new ways to kill each other for thousands of years. War is not strange to them. It is familiar. It is comfortable. No species is comfortable with war. This one is." Veth pulled up more footage. A human soldier, badly wounded, dragged himself across the ground to recover his fallen weapon. A human doctor operated on injured fighters while bombs exploded outside her window. Human children carried messages through war zones, slipping past Velrath patrols like soasts. "They do not see death the way other species do," Veth said. "They do not fear it the way they should. They have a word in their languages, many words actually, for dying in battle. They treat it as something noble, something to be desired." Sirac studied the footage in silence. His confidence, so unshakable at the start of the invasion, was beginning to crack. "How long until victory?" he finally asked. Veth could not meet his eyes. "I do not know, High Commander. Every day we fight them. They grow stronger. Every loss they suffer makes them angrier. I have never seen anything like it." He did not say what he was thinking. He was beginning to wonder if victory was possible at all. 3 months into the invasion, the Velrath controlled only a small portion of Earth. Their maps showed territory in red, and each day the red areas grew smaller. High Commander Sirac stood on his bridge and watched the reports come in, each one worse than the last. The humans had broken through Velrath shield technology. A team of scientists working in an underground bunker in Switzerland had spent weeks studying captured equipment. They found the frequency patterns that powered the shields. They built devices to disrupt them. Within a month, Velrath soldiers, who had once walked through human bullets like rain, were dying in the streets. Captured plasma weapons appeared in resistance hands across the planet. The humans could not build them yet, but they could use them. They could modify them. A Velrath plasma rifle in human hands became something different, something more dangerous. Human engineers added scopes for greater accuracy. They built cooling systems that allowed for faster firing. They created ammunition that the Velrath had never imagined. In Seoul, a 17-year-old human built a device that could disable Velrath electronics. She posted the plans on the internet. Within 3 days, humans on every continent were building copies. Velrath vehicles stopped working. Velrath communications went dark. Velrath soldiers found themselves alone, cut off from their commanders, surrounded by enemies they could not see. Sirach ordered his intelligence chief to bring him the psychological profiles of the human species. He read them again, searching for something he had missed. "They should have broken by now," he said. Every projection said they would surrender within 6 rotations. It has been 90. His intelligence chief, Torak, stood beside him with his head bowed. "Our projections were based on other species, High Commander. We assumed humans would react as others have reacted, and they have not." No, Torak hesitated before continuing. "There is something else. High Commander, something in the reports from our ground forces that concerns me. Speak. Our soldiers are afraid." Sirach turned to look at him. "Velrath soldiers do not feel fear. They do now." Torak pulled up a series of reports. 37 soldiers have refused to sleep. They say they cannot close their eyes without seeing human faces. 12 commanders have requested transfer away from Earth. 4 soldiers have taken their own lives. Cowards. Perhaps, but their reports all say the same thing. Torak found a specific file and opened it. This is from a captain in the European theater. He writes, "They do not die like other species. They do not scream or beg. They laugh. They curse us with their last breaths." One human soldier, his legs destroyed, dragged himself toward our position with a grenade in each hand. He could have stayed hidden. He could have lived another few minutes. But he chose to crawl toward us, bleeding out with every meter, just for the chance to take more of us with him. Sirach read the report in silence. "There is more," Torak said. "Our interrogation teams have extracted nothing useful from captured humans. Nothing. They resist methods that have broken every other species we have encountered. One prisoner, a female with wounds that should have killed her, spent her final moments whispering to her interrogator. What did she say?" Torak looked uncomfortable. She said, "My daughter will find you." Then she died. The interrogator has not slept since. He says he sees her face every time he closes his eyes. Sirach set down the report. Through the viewing window, he could see Earth hanging in the darkness. Such a small world, such a stubborn species. Why do they not surrender? He asked, more to himself than to Torak. "We are stronger than them. We have better weapons. We have more soldiers. Every logical calculation says they cannot win. Why do they keep fighting?" Torak had no answer. The truth was something neither of them could understand. Humans did not think in terms of logical calculations. They did not weigh their chances of victory and make rational decisions. They fought because fighting was what humans did. They had fought ice ages that lasted centuries. They had fought plagues that killed millions. They had fought famines, floods, fires, and each other. Their entire existence was one long battle for survival, and they had never lost, not completely, not finally. Every time history knocked them down, they got back up. Every disaster that should have destroyed them only made them stronger. They carried within them the genetic memory of ancestors who had survived everything the universe could throw at them. The Velrath had conquered species that were stronger than humans. They had defeated civilizations that were smarter, more advanced, more unified. But they had never faced a species that simply refused to quit. They had never met a species that treated survival as a personal insult to anyone who tried to kill them. Sirach looked at his maps and saw his forces shrinking. He looked at his casualty reports and saw numbers that would have been unthinkable 3 months ago. He looked at the planet below and finally began to understand. They had not invaded a primitive world. They had kicked a hornet nest, and now the hornets were coming for them. "Send a message to the Dominion Council," he said quietly. "Tell them we require reinforcements. Tell them we underestimated the enemy. Tell them He paused, searching for words that would not sound like failure. Tell them this species is unlike anything we have ever encountered. Torek bowed and left to send the message. Sirac remained on the bridge, staring at the blue planet that was slowly teaching him what fear felt like. 6 months after the invasion began, the war changed completely. The Velrath were no longer the hunters. They were the prey. It started with small attacks. Human teams, trained in captured Velrath technology, found ways to board the ships in orbit. They used stolen shuttles. They built crude rockets from scrap metal and hope. They launched themselves into space in vehicles that should not have survived the journey, and somehow they survived anyway. The first successful boarding happened on a supply ship near the moon. 12 humans in mismatched armor cut through the hull and fought their way to the engine room. They died there, all 12 of them, but not before planting explosives that destroyed the ship and its cargo of weapons meant for the ground forces. More attacks followed. Every week another ship was hit. Sometimes the humans failed and died in the cold of space. Sometimes they succeeded and died in fire. Either way, they kept coming. On Earth's surface, the humans launched a coordinated assault that shocked the Velrath command. 3 major cities were recaptured in a single night. Moscow, Jakarta, and Buenos Aires all fell to human forces within hours of each other. The attacks were planned, precise, and perfectly timed. Different groups on different continents struck at the exact same moment. Sirac demanded to know how this was possible. His officers had no answer. Human communication should have been impossible to coordinate. Velrath jammers blocked most of their signals, yet somehow they managed it. The answer came from a captured human-computer specialist. She explained, just before she died from her wounds, that humans had built a new communication network. It ran through old cables buried underground. It bounced signals off satellites the Velrath had not thought to destroy. It used codes based on ancient human languages that no Velrath could translate. "You cannot stop us from talking to each other," she said. "We have been doing it for 10,000 years. We will find a way." The skies above Earth became dangerous for Velrath ships. Human engineers had built drones from pieces of crashed Velrath vehicles. The drones were simple, cheap, and deadly. They carried explosives and flew themselves into the engines of Velrath cruisers. The pilots who guided them knew they were flying one-way missions. Volunteers lined up around the block. Sirac lost his second in command when a human drone breached the bridge shields of his cruiser. The explosion killed everyone aboard. There was no warning. There was no chance to fight back. One moment, the ship was whole, and the next, it was burning wreckage falling toward Earth. In the ruins of London, a Velrath patrol stumbled into an ambush that killed all 50 soldiers. The only survivor was found 3 days later, wandering through the destroyed streets, repeating the same words over and over. "They came out of the walls. They came out of the walls." Sirac requested a private channel to the Dominion Council. He stood alone in his quarters and delivered his report. "The situation has changed," he said. "We are no longer advancing. We are barely holding our current positions. Human forces attack us constantly, day and night, without rest. They use weapons we have never seen before. They employ tactics that should not work against our superior technology." The council leader's image flickered on the screen. "Explain how a primitive species has resisted our forces for 6 months." Sirac had spent long nights thinking about this question. He finally had an answer, though he knew the council would not want to hear it. "We made a fundamental error in our assessment," he said. "We saw humans fighting each other and concluded they were weak. We were wrong. Their constant conflict did not weaken them. It forged them. Every generation of humans has known war. Every generation has developed new ways to fight, new weapons, new strategies. They have been perfecting the art of killing for thousands of years." He paused to collect his thoughts. But that is not what makes them truly dangerous. Many species know war. What makes humans different is their refusal to accept defeat. Other species surrender when victory becomes impossible. Humans do not. They would rather die fighting than live as slaves. Every human we kill only strengthens the resolve of those who remain. The council leader was silent for a long moment. What are you telling us, High Commander? Sirach spoke the words that had been building inside him for months. I am telling you that we cannot win this war, not through force. The more we hurt them, the harder they fight. The more we destroy, the angrier they become. They have a fire inside them that our weapons cannot extinguish. Then what do you recommend? Before Sirach could answer, alarms screamed throughout his ship. Red lights flashed. Officers shouted warnings. A human assault team had breached the flagship's outer hull. They had come for him. Sirach grabbed a weapon and ran toward the bridge. He knew with cold certainty that everything he had believed about this war was about to be tested. The humans were no longer defending their world. They were bringing the war to him. Sirach reached the bridge as the last of his guards fell. 7 humans stood among the bodies, their armor scorched and broken, their weapons still smoking. They had fought through 300 Velrath soldiers to reach this room. Most of their own team had died on the way. The leader of the humans stepped forward. She was tall with dark skin and short hair. Her left arm was missing below the elbow. The wounds still fresh and wrapped in bloody bandages. A patch covered her right eye. She had obviously been fighting for months, maybe the entire war. High Commander Sirach. Her voice was calm, steady. My name is Colonel Maya Torres. I am here to deliver a message. Sirach raised his weapon. You will die here. Probably. Torres did not seem concerned, but you will hear the message first. The other humans spread out around the bridge, covering all the exits. Sirach realized that more would be coming. The entire ship was compromised. Even if he killed these 7, it would not matter. Speak your message, he said. Torres walked to the main viewing screen and looked out at the stars. Earth hung below them, blue and white and brown. Smoke rose from a dozen cities. The scars of war were visible even from orbit. We know what you expected when you came here, she said. You expected us to break. You expected us to surrender. You thought we were weak because we fight among ourselves. She turned to face him. You were wrong. Your species is losing this war, Sirach replied. Millions of you are dead. Your cities are rubble. Your armies are scattered. True, Torres nodded slowly. And yet here I stand on your bridge looking at you. Sirach had no response to that. You wanted to know what humans are, Torres continued. I will tell you. We are survivors. Our ancestors lived through ice ages. They crossed oceans in wooden boats. They fought predators with nothing but rocks and sticks. They died by the millions to disease, famine, and war. And every single time they got back up. She stepped closer to Sirach. Her remaining eye burned with something that looked like fire. You think you can break us. You cannot. You can kill us. You can destroy our cities. You can burn our world to ash. But you cannot make us surrender. It is not in our nature. We do not know how. Then you will all die. Some of us, many of us, maybe most of us. Torres smiled, and there was no warmth in it. But not all. There will always be survivors. There will always be humans who remember what you did here. And when we rebuild, when we reach the stars, we will find you. We will find the Dominion, and we will teach you what your invasion taught us. What is that? That we are not alone in the universe. That there are enemies out there who want to destroy us, and that we must be ready. Sirach felt something he had never felt before in his long career. He felt small, he felt afraid, not of the woman standing before him, but of what she represented. A species that could not be broken. A species that would remember. You are not going to kill me, he said. It was not a question. No. Torres lowered her weapon. We are going to put you and your surviving ships on a course back to Dominion space. You are going to tell your council what happened here. You are going to tell them what you faced. And you are going to deliver a message. What message? Tors stepped back and signaled to her team. They began moving toward the exits, their mission apparently complete. "Tell them Earth is closed," she said. "Tell them to mark our system as forbidden. Tell them to never, ever come back. And if they do?" Tors stopped at the doorway and looked back at him. Her ruined face showed no fear, no doubt, only the absolute certainty of someone who had already accepted death and chosen to keep fighting anyway. If they come back, they will face a species that has spent every day since this invasion preparing for their return. We will have better weapons, better ships, better soldiers, and we will have hate. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. "We are very good at hate, Commander. You have taught us to focus it. You have given us a target. The next time we meet, it will not be on our world. It will be on yours." She left. 2 weeks later, the 19 surviving Velrath ships limped into Dominion space. Sirach stood before the council and delivered his report. He told them everything. The battles, the losses, the humans who fought with their last breath, the species that could not be conquered. When he finished, the council leader asked the question Sirach had been dreading. "What do you recommend?" Sirach, who had once been the greatest commander in Velrath's history, gave the only answer he could. "Quarantine the Sol system. Mark it forbidden. Let no Dominion vessel approach within 10 light years and pray." "Pray for what?" Sirach looked at the star map, at the tiny yellow dot that marked Earth's sun. "Pray that they never develop faster than light travel, because if they do, they will come for us. They will remember every city we burned, every human we killed. They do not forget. They do not forgive." He turned away from the map. "We did not invade a primitive world. We woke something ancient and terrible, something that has spent its entire existence learning how to survive, how to fight, how to win." The council chamber was silent. "No one warned us," Sirach said quietly. "No one warned."